Let's talk about visualization. Most people respond well to visualizing goals and their future. Remember, 70 or 80% of the population of the world primarily relates to a visual representational system. When they think of things that are in their present or past or future, they prefer to make pictures in their minds. They also prefer, as you know, to talk in terms of visual concepts, things you can see. So they use words that relate to that. So, since most people respond well to this, you can get a lot of mileage from using visualization with your clients. And the way to do this is just by having them do what they probably already do anyway, visualizing things. Think about this. Think about when you're going to do something. Let's say you're going to give a speech. Do you tend to visualize what might go wrong? Do you tend to make pictures in your mind of the things that might not quite go right? Well, what happens when we do that? When we do that, of course, we set ourselves up for, at the very least, anxiety. And sometimes we set ourselves up for failure. Sometimes we set ourselves up because we live into that future that we've created just in our minds. It was a fantasy future. It's something that didn't exist yet, but we imagined it so much that when it came time for it to actually happen, it didn't go the way we wanted it to go. It went the way we visualized it, the way we imagined it. So it's very important to make productive, positive, and powerful pictures in your mind. So I want you to start doing this immediately, and I want you to work with your clients to do this. Even if they're not primarily visual, they can still use visualization. As long as they are able to see and to understand the concept of sight, then they are able to visualize. They are able to make a picture in their mind. They're able to just close their eyes and see something. And this can be a very powerful tool because what we're exposed to in our environments every day, every minute, becomes part of who we are, what we see around us. When a child grows up with poverty, that's what they see. Now, sometimes they say, wait a minute, I'm not going to have any more of this. I'm going to change things. I'm going to make a more rich experience for myself in terms of money. But sometimes it's what they learn, and it's what they stay with. So visualization is very important, very positive, can be very positive, and very powerful. So help your clients visualize goals, challenges, and outcomes. Let's say, for example, your client is working on something. Let's say they get on a health kick, and suddenly your client wants to get in peak shape, and they're going to run a triathlon. Run, swim, and bike. A triathlon, I should say. And this is something that's new for them, and they're a little bit out of shape, and you can see that, and they can see that. They haven't done any of those activities recently, but suddenly they're going to do this because all of their friends and their networking group are doing this, and it's the thing to do, and it's going to show them that they've still got it. So they're going to go for it, and that's wonderful. But the problem, or the challenge, is that they see themselves as barely able to run a mile, barely able to bike at all, and not being so good at swimming. And so when they imagine themselves doing this, going through the triathlon, they see nothing but failure. So it's important to have them visualize the goals, challenges, and outcomes. So the goals, in this case, would be, first of all, to get in shape. Got to be in shape to run a triathlon. If you're going to compete in a triathlon, run, swim, and bike, you have got to be in shape. You've got to at least be able to finish. Doesn't mean you're going to finish in first place, but if you're going to do it, you've got to be able to complete it. So you've got to have endurance. So the goal is to get them up and running, so to speak. Up and running, biking, and swimming. So That's the goal, at least the immediate goal. The challenge is, well, they're out of shape. That's a challenge. But they should visualize themselves overcoming the challenge, not just going through it and kind of, making the best of it and panting the whole time, but overcoming it, getting through the challenge successfully and having a wonderful time doing it. And the outcome in this case is, well, it could be a number of things, but ideally the outcome is finishing at a reasonable placement. Maybe not first, second, or third, but at least not finishing last. So the outcome, it may vary. The outcome is probably to finish somewhere in the middle. Now that's if they haven't run a triathlon for a while. I keep saying run, but you know what I mean. Run, swim, and bike a triathlon ever or in a long time, or they're completely out of shape. A more reasonable outcome, if they are a triathlete, would be to finish in one of the top places, if not the very top. So you've got to have them focus on these things through visualization. And this helps prepare them for any situation. So really, in the grand scheme of things, unless they make their living off of triathlons, they're not going to get much mileage, pardon the pun, out of doing this. But then again, they are. They may not be a person who's going to be on a box of Wheaties after the triathlon saying, yes, it was difficult, but I overcame, and now I'm glad that my country accepts me as the top triathlete. That's probably not what awaits them on the other side of this. Probably what awaits them on the other side of this is a hearty congratulations from their significant other, a round of applause from their friends, a little recognition they can put on a website somewhere, things like that. And also a great feeling of accomplishment. That's what realistically awaits most people who finish a triathlon. But more importantly, what they're going to get is the preparation for any situation. You see, many times people in business will do things like this. Triathlon, jump out of an airplane, with a parachute, of course, go mountain climbing, do something that's a little bit out of the ordinary for them, and they will have success at it, and they will use this energy for something else. Well, here's an opportunity for you to have a twofold success for your client. First of all, they have the success of finishing or placing in the triathlon or whatever it is they're doing, or jumping out of an airplane with a parachute, or mountain climbing, or what have you. They've successfully done it. That's great. That's a great feeling. They can carry that energy into the next meeting they have. They're going to be walking a little more proudly in the next meeting, standing a little taller, sitting a little more upright, talking a little more forcefully, and that's great. They'll carry that energy. But the other thing they're going to get is the power to use visualization. If you help them prepare for this using visualization, they're going to be able to carry that into something else. So it's not as if they just went into the triathlon and just made it happen and thought, well, I think I'll do this and I'll exercise and prepare, and okay, I did it. No, they had a system. The system involved visualization. The visualization paid off. Now they know that works. Now they can visualize themselves doing other things, being successful in business or relationships or what have you. They can carry this skill over to other things. So teaching transferable skills is very important as you work with someone as a life coach. One of the things that you can do is have them use vision boards. Now, this is something that's very powerful, very positive. Let's say they want to go through the triathlon and be successful. Well, how about a picture of someone running through a finish line or biking through a finish line or what have you? How about a picture of someone biking? How about a picture of someone swimming? How about having pictures like that on the vision board? How about having a picture of someone wearing a medal on the vision board, if that is their goal, to actually place in the triathlon? How about having pictures of what they want on there? This is a very powerful tool, and as I mentioned previously in this program, John Assaraf, who was in the movie The Secret, uses vision boards very successfully, I might add. a person who is not only a multimillionaire, but a person who is world-renowned for what he does. And what does he do? He helps other people achieve their goals. What a great job. Help other people achieve their goals. Guess what? That's going to be your job too, helping other people achieve their goals. In doing so, you get everything you want. Someone once said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything that you want. And that's what you should focus on. Now, helping your client get what they want can really get jump-started and get switched into high gear when you have them use vision boards. So, a big part of visualization, we've already talked about vision boards, but a big part of visualization is the vision board, having it right in front of them. So it's not always a mental process. Sometimes you want to put it right in front of them. Well, what happens when you do that? What happens when you put it right in front of them? They start making pictures like that, don't they? If you see enough horror movies, you're going to start making horror movie pictures in your mind. You're going to start dreaming about that. If you see enough romance movies, you're going to start making romance movies pictures in your mind, and you're going to start dreaming about that. Well, once you prime the pump, once you get this in front of them enough, they're going to start making pictures like that of success in their minds, and they're going to start dreaming about that. Guess what happens next? That becomes their reality. They start living into that future. They start looking for opportunities to win because their subconscious mind becomes programmed for success. They've seen so much of it. They've dreamt about it. They've felt it, physically felt it in their bodies. They start feeling it, and then they make it happen. So I want you to encourage your clients next to write down goals and other lists and remind them to frequently look at them. It's not good enough to just write stuff down. Have you ever gone to a seminar and you just write stuff down? You think, oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I'm going to develop a program for that. That's a wonderful plan. You write it down, and what happens? A couple years later, you find that notebook, and you look at it and you think, oh, that was a good idea. Oh, I didn't ever follow through with that. Wow, that was nice. Well, what happened? You probably flew home from the seminar, put that notebook somewhere, and carried on with your life. Because when you're in the moment in a seminar, you're all pumped up. You're thinking, yes, I'm going to do this. Yes, this is great. Then what happens? Quote unquote reality sets back in when you get back home. Maybe the significant other, kids, job, clients, whatever it may be, it all kicks back in. And unless you have a plan, unless you've scheduled it, it usually doesn't happen. And it comes up years later and you look at it and you think, that's a nice idea, but I'm doing different things now. Or maybe I'll look at that again sometime. And what happens? A year later, you look at it again. Okay, so encourage your clients to write down goals and other lists and remind them to frequently look at them. It's kind of like going to the seminar and then actually looking at your notes when you get home. Frequently, not just every now and then, not 2 years from now, frequently. So they're writing down what they want, and they're looking at them. Let's say they have a goal of running that triathlon and finishing. They can write that down. So I'm not talking about pictures now. I'm talking about just writing it down. Run triathlon, or finish triathlon, or prepare for triathlon, whatever the immediate goal may be. They look at it. They start making pictures of it. They're reminded, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be preparing for this. I'm supposed to be making this happen. So they start getting focused on making it happen. And this happens whether or not they want it to happen. Their subconscious mind becomes programmed for it. Just like a kid being exposed to smoking. The child may end up smoking whether they want to or not. They're exposed to it. That's what grown-ups do. That's what big people do. So if I want to be a big person, I smoke. That's what happens. Kids get programmed. It becomes imprinted on their minds, whether they want it or not. So use this bit of physiology in a positive way to program your clients for something that they do want to do, something that will make them feel better about themselves. And have them visualize their future in 1, 5, 10, and 20 years from now. So I want you, this is different from the visualization board writing down goals, or at least it can be, depending on how you structure it. You can have them put goals that are in these categories, a car that they want in a year, for example, a house that they want in 5 years, for example. You can have them have pictures of that on their vision board. But in addition to that, and sometimes separately from that, and sometimes separately from writing down goals, I want you to have them visualize their future at these increments. This is very important because when we visualize the future, we kind of throw an anchor toward the future and we start pulling ourselves toward it. Just like an airplane pilot having somewhere to go, they throw an anchor out. Let's say they're flying from New York to San Francisco. They throw a mental anchor out in their mind, and the computer throws an anchor out also to that place. That's where they're headed. They may not always be pointed directly at San Francisco. They may have to go to the left and to the right and up and down and so forth, but that's where they're going. That's where they're going to end up. They know that. They've psychologically programmed themselves, and the computer on board is programmed to go there. That's where they are going. And you may think that's a very simple concept, and of course that's where the plane's going, but people neglect this so often in their lives. They get so caught up in what they're doing today. What have they got to do today? Get the kids to soccer. They've got to meet with this client. They've got to eat certain foods. They've got to exercise, got to go to yoga, got to do this, got to get this book, got to go to this meeting, got to call this person. What happens if you get too caught up in that? If you get too caught up in that, then you're just getting by. You're just getting by. And sometimes your clients are just getting by. They're figuring out how they're going to survive that day. Well, as harsh as this sounds, that's not good enough. Now, you don't want to say that to your clients. That's not good enough, because they're sometimes just treading water, trying to stay afloat, hoping you will offer some kind of solution. So you don't want to come in and say, what you're doing, that's not good enough. But what you do want to do is put something positive in their minds. Get them focused on what all this means, where they're going, where they're heading. You know what happens when you do that? Life gets exciting. If I'm doing this and that, running around here and there today and returning something to the store and calling someone and meeting someone, that may not be so exciting to me. But if I realize that a year from now, through all of these activities that I'm doing, I'm going to have a much bigger, nicer house, that's exciting to me. If I realize that 5 years from now, I'm going to have even a bigger house, that's more exciting to me. 10 years, 20 years from now, I'll be doing this and doing that. I'll be traveling the world and working with people who I've helped. I start to get excited. And I start to feel good about myself and what I'm doing today. It makes today a lot easier. So, whatever it is that they want, maybe it's not a house or a car or anything like that. Maybe they just want to help a lot of people. That's what I like doing. But whatever it is, get them focused on the future 1, 5, 10, and 20 years from now. It's going to pull them forward and help today become a little easier.